Well, good evening and welcome to another of the Science Society's lecture. Before we start introducing tonight's topic and the speaker, I have a bit of housekeeping. So in April we have two lectures. The first one is on April the 10th, okay? Thursday, April the 10th, and it's called Google Chat GPT Questions of Omniscience and Wisdom. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, come to the talk. I think it should be very interesting. And the second one is on the 24th of April, and this one is called Monument versus Dilapidation, How Urban Communities in Eastern Russia Use Narrative of the Past in their struggle for their right to the city. I will come to this one, yeah. Okay, so I'm delighted to introduce the topic for tonight and the speaker. So the topic is, as you can see it on the screen, Alive in Shadows, Shadow Theaters in Southeastern Asia. And this is by Constantine, Korsovitis. Now, Constantine is an artist and a photographer, and he's from Sydney in Australia, and is devoted to the documentary practice. This emphasizes on the portraiture, the storytelling, and the taking the experience of the photographer with his subject. So this is quite interesting. And now he has worked extensively on shadow theaters projects with museums in London, Georgia, Kuala Lumpur, as well as our Bangkok's contemporary art center at Rajdamnern. Now, shadow theater has a very long history in Asia. It is a very popular form of entertainment for the mass of the people. Most of us are quite familiar with the puppet figures carved on buffalo or cow hide, and then they're played behind a lit screen. In Thailand, the larger ones, I think larger than this one we've been passing around, is called Nang Yai, and the smaller ones like this one, maybe even sometimes a bit smaller, these are the Nang Talung. The theme of the story, the themes in Southeast Asia is mostly based on the Hindu epic, the Ramayana, and occasionally on the Mahabharata. Now, this is quite different from in China. This is where I come from. And the themes are drawn from secular sources, mostly from folk legends and stories, like the same ones they have in Chinese opera. Now, however, this evening, our speaker is not so much concerned in capturing the performance per se, but rather he has this refreshing new approach in looking behind the scene. Now, he says in his own words, and I quote, in revealing a glimpse of the person behind the mask by focusing on the experience of the photographic encounter and remove the performance layer. So, would you please help me to welcome our speaker, Mr. Constantine Korsovitis.
I've got some notes here which I'll grab, just so I know what I'm talking about, and I'll try to not talk too much, and I'll let the images speak for themselves. And let me just say thank you to Kun Eileen for the warm welcome, and thank you to everyone for coming this evening. It's a pleasure to be here at the CM Society, and I'll briefly just tell you what I'm going to be showing you. Just made a PDF thing with some bullet points, mostly photography. And I will explain each photo as we go along, and I will expand on the points that I've made. And at the end of the talk, I'm happy to listen to your questions. And if you have any sort of future interest, I mentioned it to Kun Nisha as well, that if you want to get in touch, if you're traveling in Southeast Asia, or you want to speak to a puppet master, or you want to take a workshop, or you're going to Indonesia or anywhere, send them an email and I'd be more than happy to point you into the right direction or put you in touch with a master. Raise it a bit. Okay. All right, let me start. And I did have a clicker here somewhere. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, that's probably seen the book in the front there, so that's the cover of it. We worked on this book probably for about 12 months on the design and layout and text and all of it. And on the cover is the Nanyai troupe from Wat Bandon in Wayang. Very nice people, and if you definitely go to Wayang, I recommend to go and see their new museum, Wat Bandon. I thought I would start with this particular image, which was the opening of last year's festival at Phetchaburi, and it's the ceremony for the spirit of the teacher, Wai Kru, I think they say it in Thai, and it's widely common around Thailand, and the reverence to the teacher, to the guru, to the one that passes the knowledge, is something that I've seen throughout Southeast Asia and East Asia. And as you can see, a pig's head and a duck and fish, and obviously, okay, let me just go back and let's point. If the master was a cigarette smoker, a packet of cigarettes in there just in case the spirit needs to have one. But yeah, very beautiful ceremony, mantra and prayer, and the festival begins with this. So yeah, that basically kind of explains what it is. It's a photo documentary project in Southeast Asia, and it focuses on traditions from Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and in Indonesia. And the common thread in these traditions is the use of the Hindu classics of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and obviously is primarily my work, and the little mock-up that I did there is of all the hands and of the puppet masters, and there's only one lady in that particular one, and if people want to have a bit of a guess as to which person that would be, I'll leave it up there just for a few more seconds. And I've asked many people and everybody gets it wrong, so we can have a bit of a chat at the end and tell me your guess. This is the home theatre of National Award-winning artist Kun Suchat Supsin, and one of my favourite puppet masters. And I will tell a little story how we met, and how sometimes fate or luck, if you want to call it that, takes you in a particular direction, or even just a last-minute decision. It was during the first time I came to Thailand, and with some friends, we're in Surat Thani, and we intended to get the boat to go to Koh Samui. And at the last moment, I said, look, I don't really want to go. I just want to have a few days to myself. I'll catch up with you guys in Koh Samui. So just randomly, I looked at the map and I said, okay, I will go to Nakhon Si Thammarat. I liked the name of the city, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go there. I went there, and I checked in late at the hotel. I walked out, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go left. And I just went left, and I walked down the street, and I could hear the sound of the music. The band was playing as to tell people basically that the performance was going to start, and I just followed it and followed it and followed it, and I came across Kun Suchat's performance, and I had seen it as a child, and then this was the first time in Asia and the first time I came across it again. So after the performance, I went backstage, and the master didn't speak a word of English, of course. So happens one of his sons was a musician, and he spoke to me. He said, "Would you like to speak to my father?" And I said, "Of course." And he says, "Do you want to come to my house the next day and have a look at the museum, and we can have a bit of a chat?" And I thought, okay, sure. I thought it would be like a quick look around, maybe 30 minutes, and maybe 3 hours later I was still there. And we talked and talked and talked about everything. And he told me that it's based on the Ramayana, and it so happened that I just read the Ramayana maybe a few months earlier. I thought, oh, okay, so I know who this character is and who this character is. And at the end of the session, he said, "Look, you seem in tune with what we were doing, and you're open to the spirit of Shadow Theatre. Maybe you would like to do something with it." And it kind of thought, maybe. And it so happened that a few years later, I was invited to go to Indonesia to document the Wayang festival, and I decided there and then that I would do something with them. And 23 years later, I'm still doing it. So, chance encounters. Yeah, you go left, you do this, you go right. I don't see him. Yeah, so. On the left is I've written the guy's name, Dalang Chengblong. If you ever go to Bali and you have an interest in shadow theatre, this is the man that I recommend that you see. Probably one of the funniest and most spiritual puppet masters I've ever seen. A devout Hindu. And you can see behind him is his home altar. I asked him what it was, and he said it's the altar to the gods of Wayang. He says a mantra and he gives them an offering every day. And I saw his performance in Denpasar, and there would have been more than 1,000 people watching him. And there was laughter, and there was children, and there was people playing around, and it was really, really funny. Even though I don't speak Bahasa, you can just tell immediately that people were really enjoying it. And I definitely recommend him. The Tree of Life from Yogyakarta, and I actually wrote the word down. It's the Pang Nang, which is the puppet master's helper. Basically like a large briefcase made from rattan, and that's how they carry all their puppets. They might have maybe 2 or 3 of these, and they might put in, say, 30 or 40 puppets in each one, and they would carry that with them. Wrapped around with a string, of course, to be safe. Really beautiful things, and you will see them in the south of Thailand everywhere. This is a puppetry tradition from Jogja, and it's puppets actually made from grass. It's called Wayang Sasak, and it's a tradition for children, how to, when they're starting to learn shadow theatre, they start with these grass ones. If easily made, very cheap, easily damaged as well before they kind of move, and really beautifully made, and they are very very common in Yogyakarta in Java. I was speaking to somebody earlier, and this is the beautiful temple in Phetchaburi called Wat Plapachai, and inside the Buddhist temple you will see that beautiful Nangyai puppets, which are 200 to 300 years old, given to the abbot at Wat Plapachay from either King Rama IV or King Rama V from memory. And to the left of this particular temple is a more modern museum where you'll find these particular puppets that I brought. Kun Fluk, who is the master, has got a lot of his puppets in that museum. And I know that in May 2 to May 4, they're doing a big festival, which is actually focusing on Ramayana. And they'll have traditions from Cambodia, Indonesia, I think China, India, and Myanmar from memory. And I look forward to it. And I'm going to have an exhibition of my work during this time. So if you are here, it will be very hot, but kind of necessary for Thailand in May, I think. And one of the most famous puppet masters from Jogja. Let's see his name. Pakpulbo Asmoro. I sponsored one of his exhibitions recently, one of his performances in Solo. A fantastic performer who has a PhD in puppetry. And from Nakonsi Thamarat, the making of a dragon puppet. Lots and lots of workshops in Nakhon, and really, really beautiful design, as you can see. I asked them how long does it usually take, and they said the smaller puppets take about a week to make. Some of the larger ones, 2 to 3 weeks, and the Nangyai puppets could take up to 2 months to actually make. Cowhide and buffalo hide is primarily used in Thailand. In Malaysia, it is buffalo and deer. In Indonesia, primarily buffalo. Okay. A little bit more of an explanation as to when, why, and how. I started seriously working in 2001 when I was invited in Kuala Lumpur by Professor Ghulam Yusuf to document the International Wayang Festival. I'm not sure if you know this, but Wayang was banned in Malaysia for approximately 12 years because of the Islamic party in Kelantan. They don't like Wayang very much at all. And the puppet masters couldn't make a living. A lot of them had to immigrate abroad. I know that the most famous Dalang in Kelantan went to work in Hong Kong as a labourer. So I asked them why they do this. They don't like the ritual aspects of Wayang Kulit. They kind of equate rituals with religion, and primarily we're looking at Hindu rituals, mantras, prayers to people like Vishnu, and gods, I should say, and they just don't like that. And I primarily don't quite get that. I mean, you can have rituals and be more of a cultural identity, more of a cultural thing rather than a religious thing. You can have rituals and mantras which are directed towards God, but still retain your own religious beliefs without getting lost. And it took them 12 years to kind of realize that. And Wayang is back in fashion now in Malaysia, and a lot of the younger generation are embracing it. And of course the older Dalang are working on it. It is one of the oldest traditions of storytelling in the world. A lot of universal appeal. A lot of people have asked me why you like shadow theatre. And look, I don't speak Thai and I don't speak Bahasa, but I don't really necessarily have to speak the language. Okay, I know the stories, but I find that the stories of it universal. It's good versus evil. It's human beings being heroic and being terrible and good. It's a love story between Rama and Sita. It's love being taken away. It's the animals helping the humans to achieve their goals. Hanuman is probably one of my favorite characters, and his devotion to Rama is something else. So definitely a universal appeal. As far as the personal appeal, I will quickly kind of say that I saw Shadow Theatre when I went to Greece on a family holiday when I was 7 years old, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and my brain kind of sort of filed it away and said, okay, you like this? So when I first came back to Asia, I thought, okay, I know what this is. And Kun Eileen basically mentioned I like the performance and I like the studio stuff, but what I wanted was to show the masters as everyday people, just to remove that kind of layer of performance. And they are actors. They are gods, they are goddesses, they are monks, they are villains, they are comedians. So I wanted to kind of strip all that and just to show them as everyday men and women, like as granddads, as farmers, so I went to their homes, and the idea was to have that encounter between the photographer and the subject. And it took a long time to develop that relationship. I went back 2 and 3 and 4 times. That's why it took 20 years plus to actually... They're not used to being photographed, and they're not used to, I suppose, trusting outsiders. So you have to earn the trust, and then slowly get them to open up, and then you get to see the energy that I was after. I think this is actually called a Kong Wang Yai. It's a traditional instrument for the Pinpat Orchestra here in Thailand. And this is from the museum at Wat Sawangarom in Singbury. So if you ever go to Singbury, I would recommend that you visit these guys, and they have a large collection of Nang Yai puppets inside. Very beautiful museum. Again, a performance in Constantine and focusing on the instruments. I wrote what they were, but I can't actually see them handy here. A flute and a percussion instrument and an alto fiddle. This is there. And if you decide to go to Nakhon Si Thammarat to see it, they're not quite common all the time, but I recommend you try, I think, September and October every year. There's the Lunar Festival. I think it's the 9th Lunar Festival. And it's the festival where the focus is on the spirits of the family members that departed. And they appease the spirits by performances of Shadow Theatre. And we're talking every city in the south, probably starting from Surat all the way down to Songkhla, will have this festival. And we're looking at 4 or 5 days in a row and performances every night. And in Nakhon Si Thammarat, it's absolutely crazy. So September, October, every year. Kianthus Susmono from Tegal in Java. He's a traditional master, but he likes using modern technology, and we'll get onto that subject. A beautiful performance here in Tegal in Java. I will sort of point to this photo up here, the children getting ready for their practice. And of course, you know, where would we be without our mums, you know, and without the help of our loved ones to get ready? And there is a kind of big point as to what shadow theatre is. The kind of reality of the performance. Excuse me, I'm just going to get a little bit of water from here. Down the bottom on the left-hand side is Kunchin Oramut from Singanakon in the south of Thailand. And he mentioned to me that he has performed more than 7,000 times. So I kind of did my maths. That would be a performance every day for 20 years in a row. So you have to be into it, yeah? And he did tell me that he performed for kings and queens and performed many times here in the palace in Bangkok. And again, a national Thai award-winning artist, Kunchin Oramut. Unfortunately, Kunchin passed away a few years ago. But he's, one of his sons and a lot of his students continue his legacy. Quite a character, and as you can see, and very cheeky, and he had a lot of stories to tell. Yeah, his spirit, you know, is definitely missed. Okay, some of the objectives that I had in creating this particular project. One was to create a shadow theatre archive, which I'm working on at the moment, and I've already spoken to the Thaksin University in Hat Yai to do a residency next year to actually finish the archive. One of the other objectives is to kind of foster a better understanding of cultural heritage and particular common cultural heritage. The idea is how we can use that to build bridges between our nations. And if you look at Southeast Asia, you will find that Wayang is the singular cultural voice, and everybody knows about it. And how we can use that to be better friends, better partners, better economies, better to foster all sorts of friendships. And it never ceases to amaze me how I spoke to the Thai puppet masters and I said, do you know this master from Malaysia? And they don't know who they are. I speak to the Malays, do you know who the Indonesians are? And nobody knows each other. And I thought, okay, reach out, you know, grab each other's hands and you're telling the same stories. There's nothing different. The stories that you're telling are all different, but it's all one. I mean, I see many, many different looking faces in the crowd and we all look different and we come from different countries and I'm sure we want the same things. Love, health, understanding, maybe a nice pizza every now and again. But yeah, use culture to build bridges. And it's of course a homage to all the men and women who have created all this legacy and this art form. A shadow theatre workshop in Patalung. Let's see who this gentleman is. Okay, I can actually find his name. I will see if I can remember later who this guy is. Okay. Nunui is probably one of the most loved characters in Thai shadow theatre, and you will find just about every puppet master in the South will have a story about this particular character. Very cheeky, very naughty, always telling jokes and stories. And this photo here, as you can see, just about every puppet master will have a home altar to their teacher, to the master that came before, and again, what I mentioned, the one who passes the knowledge, the teacher, and the home altar, all very prevalent in just about every part of Southeast Asia. And the blind puppet master here is Pan Chi Chang, and his student is Prawing Yu. My friend and honorary family member now of Ajanarong, puppet master from Trang in the south of Thailand, and again an award-winning artist. And he did tell me a story that he was a teacher in Bangkok and a puppet master, and the government of Thailand asked him to do a performance to spread the message of family planning. I thought, okay, that was an interesting idea. And I said, how did you actually approach that? And I said, well, he said, as with any message, or as with any specific target, or if you have any criticism or any particular point that you want to make, it is always through humor. It's never direct. It's never saying that this person said this or this bad person did this and we need to do this. So it's always the humorous characters, the ones that have had a bit of a drink and they carry the bottles, and always through humor or through a song carry the message of family planning, safe sex, of using condoms, that kind of stuff. And the Thai government was so impressed that he did a run of 30 performances in 30 days, and they asked him to do it again a few months later, 30 performances in 30 days. Very successful, and it has worked. It has changed. I mean, Thai family planning is totally different than it was in the 70s and 60s. So it's an interesting thing. How the government can use traditional culture to spread its message. I don't know if you can actually see this particular character here or who he is. A puppet master from Yogyakarta who does traditional and modern shadow theatre. And the gentleman over there carrying the guitar is one Jimi Hendrix. So I kind of looked at him and I said, is that who I think it is? And he said, yes, that is definitely who you think it is. And you can tell he's even got the left-handed guitar, yeah? Rather than being right-handed. The puppet master here, Kim Muki from Cirebon. And the interesting story about this particular gentleman and puppet master is that he was President Sukarno's favorite dalang in Java during the 50s and 60s. And it's supposed a secret to Bung Karno's powers was his love for shadow theatre. He meditated on the performances, loved Wayang, and Kim Muki was his favorite puppet master. Cirebon is in the north part of Java, and they have their own particular style of shadow theatre. The two main traditions is the Yogyakarta style and the Solonese style from Solo, that's in Java, And of course in Bali, that's the third style. But Cirebon is their own style, a little bit different, the way they create, and the music instruments are a little bit different as well. I don't know if anyone's been to Cirebon in Java, but it's a very interesting city in the sense that it had very early Chinese traders traveling to Cirebon, and also it got traders from the Arabic Peninsula as well. So it's a lot of Chinese immigrants in Cirebon and a lot of Arabic influence as well as Javanese and Islamic influence as well. Beautiful town, and it's a port city as well. And the food is totally different as well. Okay, so basically, what is Shadow Theatre about? I mean, look, of course it's entertainment, it's fun, but the behind the scene things, the whole picture, it's about family and community. You will find a whole family is involved in the performance. You might have the older patriarch being the dalang. The sons could be the musicians, or the craftsmen, or the daughters or wives could be the craft ladies or managers. Some of the ladies are the singers. So definitely a family affair. Education, definitely a tool for education, especially in the older days. A little bit different now. I think the educational part has gone away, but definitely a way to teach history, to teach morality, to teach religion. So definitely a way to spread the message. It's definitely about ritual and the divine. Of course, theatre and storytelling. That's what Shadow Theatre is all about. Of course, entertainment. It is fun, singing, music, fight scenes. Of course, crafting is a very big part of Shadow Theatre. And the last kind of 2 points that I made, it is definitely a point of identity in Southeast Asia. People are very proud, especially in the south of Thailand. They let you know that, yes, we love Nanthalung. You see it in the TV, you see it on stickers on the back of cars, you see it in restaurants, you see it all over the place. They love Shadow Theatre. And it's the same in Java. A source of pride, a source of identity, a sense of belonging. Their grandfathers, generations upon generations, involved in this particular tradition. Tradition, beliefs, and family values. Yeah, a good way to spread the message. Good versus evil. How human beings are capable of great passion, of great mistakes, capable of war, capable of love, capable of sharing. And the next few photos will kind of demonstrate what I was saying. The puppet master with the family, supporting, believing, loving. The identity, what I was saying, a Khmer performer with a traditional krama scarf. Community teaching, the musicians from the community centre in Johor Bahru in Malaysia, teaching the local youth how to play music. And the community centre where anyone can go in to learn Wayang, or music, or storytelling, or whatever it is that you like. Again, Kun Klau from Krabi, an award-winning artist again, from Thailand. And again, the ritual of praying, the ancient mantras, and the spirit of the teacher. Very funny guy as well. and you can see the tools of the trade, the rattan-made folios with all the puppets going. And the traditional scarf of the South as well. I have so many of these you wouldn't believe. I got given many as a gift. The future of Nanthalung and Wayang is basically on the hands of the youth and their interest in shadow theatre, and of course their imagination. Very curious and very open to spiritual matters, and of course they love having fun. Some of the outcomes of the particular project, and I've had a touring exhibition probably for the last nearly 10 years. I had one in Australia quite a few years ago, and then in Kelantan in Malaysia, in Bangkok a few years ago as part of the Bangkok Photo Festival at the RCAC. And at the moment there's a big exhibition of my work in Kuala Lumpur at the Museum of Asian Art, and it's on until the end of April, so if you are in KL, I recommend you go and see it. And it's also a big exhibition of puppets themselves from ASEAN, which I curated together with the museum. The coffee table book, which we have on sale, and the lovely staff from River Books were very kind to bring in, so you can actually have a look at that. The documentary film, which we'll do at the end of the year in India. Lots of articles and contributions and publications by artists and curators. I've been very lucky to have some of my work in permanent collections, including the British Museum a few years back. And of course the main thing that I'm working on is this archive. I'll just say a few things about this archive. It will basically include all my interviews, all the video that I took, all the photography, everything that I've collected over the last 25 years. And it will be on one site, and anyone who has an interest in shadow theatre, whether you're an academic or you're a student or you're interested in learning crafting, it will have all the museums, all the craft places, all the puppet masters that you can visit, festivals, anything that you can think of will be in this archive, and it will be free of charge. I'm not asking for any money. Of course, we will have some sort of criteria and restrictions. Look, it has happened where people have taken my work and have used it for T-shirt making and without my approval. But if your heart is true, then you can have it. That's what it's all about. So the archive will be hopefully done by the end of next year. I've got a little video here by a puppet master. I might actually just play this. It's not very long. It's Pak Dain from Kelantan, and it's just having a quick chat and talking about.
Okay. In traditional shadow play, the Kelantan traditional shadow play, Wayang Kulit is just not only an entertainment, but it's also have a philosophy in your way of catering the society. Actually, most of master puppeteer during their time, they perform shadow play is not only to entertain people, they are also performing shadow play to educate people or young generation or the society in the way of having more respect to each other, how they have to behave to elders, how they have to respect each other. And this is what we call it informal education during the time. by using shadow play as an element in our society.
Paktain is a puppet master from Kota Baru in Kelantan, and he has a wonderful workshop at his home. And if you're interested in crafting or you go to Kelantan, he's a wonderful man to visit. And okay, let's move on. Again, the reverence of the teacher, Kun Leet Fa from Patalung. I spoke to him and I asked him, what is sacred in this room? Can you bring it so I can photograph you with it? And he immediately grabbed the image of his master. Crafting in Siem Reap. And down the bottom here is a puppet master who created a specific style of Wayang, especially for children, using animal characters and environmental stories just to teach young children about the environment and how to protect it. Pakleja from Yogyakarta. Kunpra from Phetchaburi. Again, the monk or the teacher, and always the home altar. A wonderful puppet master who sadly passed away just recently, actually. And I was very lucky to see him perform a few days before his sad death. And that was a few months ago from memory, or maybe late last year. You probably know Nanyai Watkanon from Ratchaburi. And if you are in Thailand during Songkran this year, every Songkran they have a 2-day festival in Potaram in Ratchaburi. And again, it will be the same this year. Nanyai performances from every troupe in Thailand, and including an international seminar. I think from memory it will be 14th or 15th of April this year. It will be very hot, but if you like Nanyai, this is the place, yeah? King Rama from Malaysia. This is a creation of Paktain. A performance of Nanthalung in Thailand, and our heroes in waiting there. Again from southern Thailand. Okay, some of the issues and problems with shadow theatre in Southeast Asia. A lot of the puppet masters don't like technology, and they don't want to embrace it at all. Do I like it? I like traditional performances without technology, but the younger generation absolutely adore it. So I'm all for it, and a lot of them do use it in their performances, and a lot of them use it as a tool to translate, to stream, to project stuff, to use modern lights. So yes and no. Another problem is the language. I remember speaking to a young man in Java. We were watching a shadow theatre performance, and I overheard him speaking English to his friend. So I asked him if he could translate for me. And he says, I don't know what they're saying. And I was a little bit surprised, and I said, what do you mean? He said, this is 12th century Javanese language. I don't speak 12th century Javanese language. I said, I have enough problems with modern Javanese language, let alone speaking 12th century. So I said, you don't understand any of it? And said, I understand one word in 50. Yeah. So I spoke to the puppet masters. Why? It says, we want traditional language. It says, why? It says, well, we want tradition to be kept alive, but we also don't want everyone to learn the craft. I said, you're kind of picking and choosing who you want to carry on. Says, well, yes, but it's just the way they are. They're a little bit narrow-minded. They don't want women learning. They don't want technology. They don't want modern language. So, the third point I made is education. A lot of the educational values have been lost. It's more about entertainment. It's more about singing. It's more about the side stories. Like the Ramayana was the core, but now it is the central core, but the side stories have come in. It's more about gossip and, who's sleeping with who, and more about social commentary, more about fun and naughty stuff rather than educational stuff. And it's the same thing with the spirituality. The spiritual aspects of Shadow Theatre have been lost, as most of the puppet masters find it really difficult to deal with. I spoke to a lot of them. I said, do you do spiritual performances? Do you add that element in? He says, it is very taxing on the body. It's very difficult. So we kind of skip it and get to all the fun stuff. And he says, it doesn't bother you. He says, it does bother me sometimes, but I do and say a prayer at the beginning or a mantra and leave it at that. So they do some spiritual aspects at the beginning. Not a lot of government support. It's kind of considered old school, and they get a bit of private sponsorship, a lot of business support, but not a lot of support, especially in Malaysia. They get some support in Indonesia and some support in Thailand, but everyone says more support, please, more money. One big issue that I sort of come across is the female representation in Wayang and a lot of traditional arts. It is pretty much a patriarchal circle. There's not a lot of female puppet masters. A few singers, a few craft ladies or craftswomen, I should say, but not a lot of puppet masters. And I think I came across maybe one in Thailand and maybe 2 or 3 in Indonesia, 1 in Malaysia, none in Cambodia. So you make up your own mind as to why that happens, and I think you ladies know well enough what I'm talking about. Censorship and politics, again, some topics are very much taboo, and there has been occasions where the government has directed the puppet masters to particular topics, whether it was election time or there was a problem that they needed to address, like family planning, and a lot of topics are off limits. Critique of the royal family, both here and in Malaysia, critique of the Sultan and so on, is basically off limits. The lifestyle of the dalang or the puppet masters is very difficult. Performing very, very long periods of time, lots of smoking, lots of cups of tea, lots of all-night performances. So very difficult lifestyle, and a lot of them have sadly passed away very young. And of course, one of the biggest problems is competition from other art forms. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, there's so much streaming stuff and there's so much modern arts that traditional arts are struggling to survive. They're still being performed and they still continue. Some are more popular than others. But yeah, a lot of competition. It's what I was saying before about the language. This is a Malay version of the Ramayana. and it's written in the Jawi script. And I asked the librarian if they could sort of tell me what is happening here, and she says, she couldn't read it. So sorry, I can't read it. The language is too old. So yeah, I love the illustrations, so I thought I would just kind of sort of show you. And if you look at the script, it kind of looks like an Arabic script to me. So, but it's a traditional Jawi script from North Malaysia. I think people in South Thailand, in Narathiwat and Yala, do speak a version of Yawi, as well as Thai, of course. A female dalang from Jakarta. I thought she'd just given birth to her first child, and I asked, who do you love most? She kind of looked at me, do you want to grab a puppet? And said, no, I grabbed my child instead. So it was a really beautiful photo, so I thought I would include that. Female singers, let's go back. Female singers from a Javanese performance, and a Cambodian craftswoman from Siem Reap. A modern performance of shadow theatre with projections and dancing and acting and dances as well. From Jogja, Wayang Ukur. The Wayang God's altar, the traditional way of teaching in Thailand, the master and the apprentice. And this particular one here is a form of shadow theatre from Bali, only performed on rare occasions. And in this performance, it was for the death of a family member. It's performed during the daytime, without music, without singing, and without a screen. The screen represents the life. You can see this in Bali, but only inside temples, and only if you are invited to go in. And I was very lucky to be invited and to be allowed to take some photos. I had to wear a beautiful sarong, but it was a really beautiful ceremony. The future, technology, I think, more government support, traditional way of teaching, but higher education as well. I think that here in Bangkok, you have the Bundit Patana Slip Institute that teaches traditional art, including Nanthalung and Nora. Of course, I would love to see a museum in Thailand specifically about shadow theatre. It is a great tradition, and I think deserves its own museum. Embrace the modern language, communities in Southeast Asia. And I think this is a good point here, and I have seen it. I know a lot of modern art practitioners here in Thailand are starting to use shadow theatre or puppets within their tradition, or within their art form, I should say. Just a quick video, and I will kind of stop talking, and I've been talking a lot. This particular traditional performance performed only in the New Year in Java, and if you have bad luck, or you are suffering from an illness, or you want to atone for your sins, or something bad has happened within the family, you can do this spiritual performance, and you invite the puppet master to bless you to do this traditional performance. You dress in white, and at the end of the performance, the puppet master will bless you with a plant and throw water on you 3 times. And it's a way for atoning for your sins. As you can see, there's lots of sinners, and all wanting redemption, yeah? So, but only at particular time of the year, and I think it's the Javanese New Year. Nang Nyai from Wat Bandon, which is the cover of the book. Wat Plapachai on the left, Wat Kanon on the right. Again, I'll stress just how beautiful this temple is in Phetchaburi. I was lucky that the monks let me in, and I had the place all to myself, and you can feel the energy from the puppets. Very spiritual place, and I just stood there for ages and ages just taking it all in. I finally got my camera out and took some photos, and the monks couldn't be nice enough, yeah? And no farang in sight, yeah? I had the whole place to myself, and yeah, it was very special. The troop from Wat Bandon, great kids, and I've known them for a long time. The younger guy is kind of like the mascot of the group, and if you see him now, he's a grown man. Some of the people that I've worked with and helped me, you can just quickly see who they are. I won't sort of go through them, and I've had a lot of help from some really good museums and institutions, and a lot of help from just everyday people, from taxi drivers to hotel owners and people that I met, just random people say, "Oh, you want to see this guy? Go over there. You missed this guy? Oh, come back next week." Or you want to see this guy? Oh, he's no good. Go and see this other guy instead. So a lot of help. One of my favorite photos of a puppet master from East Java. I asked him to hold the puppet as a baby, and he said, "Oh, but it is my baby." Yeah, so there you go, father and child. I'm pretty sure that is Hanuman. Performance in Cambodia and a performance in Malaysia. Craftsman from Jogja. Again, family. Performance in Malaysia, and there's Bektom performance in Cambodia, which is pretty much the same as Nang Nyai. There's Bektom from Cambodia. A couple of demons from the Sultan's Palace in Cirebon, and honestly, you could put these in a modern cartoon and they wouldn't look out of place. Very, very funny, and I was very lucky that the Sultan gave me permission to photograph his collection, which is about 800 years old. So very lucky, and something that was a little bit creepy, and they didn't allow me to photograph. One of the puppets was actually made from human skin, and I kind of thought, oh, that was my first response. But then they explained it to me, is that the puppet master was so into it that he gave permission he told his family that after he died, they could cremate him, but they could take part of his body and make it into a puppet. And honestly, I picked it up, and it was the strangest energy I've ever felt from a puppet. It was just, I thought, okay, I'm putting you down. let's continue. But they wouldn't let me photograph it. I wanted to photograph it, and the photographer in me just thought, okay, so sorry, you can't do it. But yeah, if you're into it, you're into it. So a little bit about myself, just boring stuff, degrees and what I've done. So yeah. And this is just the last bit of it. And this is basically the exhibition in Malaysia at the Museum of Asian Art in KL. Some of the photos. This is all the puppets that I curated and brought over from Java. This is a really beautiful tradition, Wayang Beber, from East Java. It's storytelling of a painting. So you can imagine the puppet master sitting behind the painting and actually narrating the story. And it's older than Wayang. Really, really beautiful. And it's a tradition that exists in Europe as well. I'm talking about these paintings here. So they're maybe 10 meters long, and the puppet master sits behind and unfolds the scrolls and narrates the story. Really, really beautiful stuff. And the Thai puppets are down the back here. The Wat Plapachai one just there. The Star Wars performance, as you can see, Darth Vader right there. So it's a modern interpretation of. And again, some of the puppets from Cambodia, and a little bit of photography of myself and some of the people that were there, and the workshop that we actually had during that time. And yeah, Nanyai from Wat Bandon. And yeah, it's actually a video. That's the end of it, and I'm sorry for talking a little bit longer. I get enthusiastic and tend to ramble on, but yeah, I would love to hear some questions and any thoughts or anything at all, basically. So I'm not sure how we can do the Q&A. So
any questions?
For my glasses, I can actually see you better.
I just want to ask you, that festival in Prapachai in Peppery, is it from May the 2nd to the 4th? Is it an annual event?
This will be the third time that they've had it, and it's been the third time in the last 4 years. So they want to make it annual, but they skipped 1 year for a particular reason. But yeah, this will be the third time in 4 years, May 2 to May 4.
And another question. You have these people from Java and Malaysia, are they all Muslims doing the Hindu epic? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The tradition is Ramayana and Mahabharata. So that's why the government in Malaysia had a problem with it and banned it for a period of time. That's why sometimes the government says, don't quite say this or do that or don't do this ritual. But look, the Javanese people are very relaxed and very laid back. Yes, they are devout Muslims, but they love their culture. So one doesn't clash with the other.
First I have a thank you. Thank you for talking about your book, your photos, very interesting. Just a little comment. There's several contemporary artists in Thailand and otherwise that use shadow puppetry in their crafts or in their presentation. Have you heard of Wasan Sittiket?
I have heard of him, yes.
And have you seen his Nang Talung and his performance?
I haven't seen it. I had a friend here in Bangkok, my friend Michael,
Yes.
Who knows his work, and he says, I got to take you and see this guy, I got to take you.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it yet. So
His work was in Bangkok Art Biennale 2 years ago. Not
2 years ago.
Not the recent one, but 2 years ago. And he has puppets of world leaders and other ones, including the new one that he's making now of the current Thai Prime Minister called Ong Ing. So I'm curious to see what he's going to play with her.
I've heard exactly the story that you're talking about, described by a friend recently, and I thought, okay, I have to get in touch with this guy. So
Yes, you should have photos of his puppets, and they are beautiful and funny as well. Thank you.
No, thank you. Please.
Good evening. Thanks for sharing your passion. Actually, I have two questions.
Sure.
You mentioned in your lecture that you wish one day there is in Thailand a museum about the puppet.
There are
shadow.
small museums, there are.
But my question is, did you recently visit the Museum of Contemporary Art? Because on the first floor there is a huge collection today of
You're talking about Mocha, yeah?
yeah, the Mocha. There is a huge one with cone mask as well, which is very interesting.
I went maybe a couple of years ago and I did see some shadow puppets in there.
So now, the last time I went there about a month ago, the first floor is maybe 30% of the exhibition is dedicated to cone mask
all right.
from all over Asia and the shadow puppets.
Okay.
I invite you to go there because it is very, very interesting.
It's been a few years since I've been, but I do remember it, yeah.
And my second question is, don't you know any nice venue in Bangkok where to attend shadow puppet performances?
Look, there is an organization in Bangkok called Samatai, and they have a theatre. They're near Don Muang, and I can put you in touch with them easily, but there's no theatre as such that is dedicated to shadow theatre. There's theatres for Kon and Lakon and other forms of traditional art, but nothing dedicated here in Bangkok. In the south, they're everywhere. And small museums as well, like Kun Suchat has a museum in his home in Nakhon Si Thammarat.
What, since the stories, Ramayana and Mahabharata, Indian stories, do you think, is there any Indian place where this art form was developed or existed?
Of course, South India, I forgot to mention that the traditions in Southeast Asia have originated from South India. And they came across with the merchants and the Brahmins who brought together their gods and their culture and their spices and became part of local life. Yeah, there's no definitive answer to say that, yes, it first came from India and it came to Java or to Thailand or Malaysia, because the whole area was in a different flux. Different kingdoms. I mean, you had the Patani kingdom, you had Srivijaya, you had many different kingdoms that included different parts of Southeast Asia, but definitely from India.
Do you think the craftsmanship was also derived from Indian?
I think the craftsmanship has evolved. So, say for instance, in India, cows are holy, so they don't use cow hide at all. So, In Thailand and Malaysia, they're not. So they do use cowhide. So there's an immediate difference as well. So the tools as well are different. And they look different. In India, the puppets are quite big.
And have you come across any evidence from Myanmar of this art form?
Not in Myanmar. In Myanmar, they have string puppets, hand puppets, but no shadow puppets.
And I gather that there are two kinds of masters, craftsmanship and puppet master.
There are very few performing masters that do everything. It's very difficult. Mm-hmm. I mean, you try remembering 200 or 300 different names of each character. Each puppet has a different voice, a different personality, long passages. So crafting, music, it's very difficult to learn everything. So if you know everything, then you're a grandmaster.
Right. So a performance master, puppet master, it's not necessarily should be craft master as well.
No, it's not necessary. As I said, very few masters can actually do all of it.
Thank you.
Some have a good voice, but can't draw. Some have good rhythm, but their hand sort of can't do work with a chisel and thing. So everybody's got their own different ways. But there are some that do the whole thing. And if you can do all of that, then you're amazing.
You mentioned politics and censorship. We were in Indonesia in the 80s and 90s, and during that time, the Wayang and the Dalang had an openness for making political criticisms that you could not make in many other forums in Indonesia. And I'm wondering now with democracy, has that evolved, and how does politics, how is it intertwined in the Wayang? And then from that Indonesian experience, does that happen at all in Malaysia, Thailand, and Cambodia?
Okay, so let me go back to the 60s when there was the purge of communism in Java, and that a lot of puppet masters were imprisoned during that particular time because they were aligned with the Communist Party in Java. So they suffered greatly during that particular time. But since then, the threat of communism just kind of went, and political critique was possible, as you mentioned, and it was encouraged. And again, it's not direct, it's not aggressive, it's not insulting. It's done through humor, it's done through song, it's done through comedy, and it has evolved up to now. It is definitely acceptable, and it is something that the crowd wants. I mean, yes, they want the funny stories, but they want a little bit of what is happening. But you also know the other side of that is how wily politicians are. The election is coming up, let's sponsor a Wayang performance and have our party's logo plastered all over the screen. And if the master is willing, he might say, some masters won't do it. The big guys, the top guys, don't have any interest in that. But some who are not making a living, or some who want the money, I'm not talking about bribes here, polite suggestions to say, could you talk about this, or can you talk about the election, or whatever. So there's two sides of the coin. Yes, satire, political commentary, and the politicians sticking their nose in exactly where.
Can I ask a question? It's always nice to see art forms thrive, and lovely to have the festivals. And I understand in Thailand they have award system.
Yeah, they do.
Right? Do they have it in the other places as well, like Cambodia or Indonesia?
They do have national artist awards. I know that a Chinese Malay artist won the Malay National Artist Award recently. He's a puppet master in Kelantan. And I know that I think maybe 7 or 8 puppet masters here in Thailand have won the National Artist Award. And everyone that is alive, I've photographed and is in the book that we have here. Some of them have passed away. But it's nice to see you usually get writers or architects or musicians, Nora artists. So it's nice to see some Nanthalung artists winning that award, yeah. And it's definitely, and in Indonesia and in Malaysia, a normal thing, yeah.
Does it make a difference for awareness?
Yes, it does. I mean, I know in Thailand that you get a monthly salary. So even if you're not performing anymore, the government will pay you, I think maybe 20,000 baht or 30,000 baht every month. You get a state funeral and all expenses paid. It's the prestige, of course. And I'm sure there's other perks in it as well, which is very nice, yeah.
What happened to the puppet theater during the Khmer Rouge times in Cambodia?
That's a good point, and it's a very sad thing to see how a regime can completely destroy a culture, and especially traditional art form. And a lot of the puppets were destroyed, a lot of the puppet masters were killed, a lot of anyone who was related with art was killed. Yes. So how can a regime erase a nation's cultural memory? And in a way they did that. I met a lot of young Khmer kids these days, and they know these big puppets. They've seen them because they sell them in the markets as souvenirs and stuff. And I said, have you seen a performance? And they said, no, we don't know what the performance is. We've never seen it. And I thought, it's one of your most well-known traditional cultural performances, and you have no idea what this is. And that's what the Khmer Rouge did. So it was very difficult to start up again, and because very few things survived.
Do Dalangs only train children, or will they train adults?
They train both of them.
Both.
Particularly children.
And does the Dalang fast and pray for 24 hours before a performance?
They do. A lot of the Dalang who are serious puppet masters and love their craft will prepare by fasting and praying. They don't perform during Ramadan. They don't perform during auspicious occasions, and will always do the mantra and the offerings before the performances. Some don't do that, but maybe they are beginners, or maybe they're not interested in the spiritual aspects. That's what I'm saying. Some of those aspects have been lost. But if you are a serious Dalang, you're always going to do this, always.
Thank you so much. You can see you arouse everybody's interest.
No. As I said, if you have more questions, or you're interested, or you want to visit and see a museum or a particular show or anything, please get in touch with the Siam Society. They can give you my email and just contact me directly, and I'm happy to point you into the right direction.
We've been to the Wakanon in Radbury several times.
They are very famous, but as I said, I recommend...
I want to go to Petbury.
Wat Lapachai in May, and Wat Bandon in Rayong, and Wat Sawang Aram in Singburi. They have a beautiful museum to visit. It's a nice day trip, Singburi, and go to the temple, and they have really beautiful puppets. Really old as well.
Thank you so much. Let's give a big